was termed the mysteries, unquote. Another who has written about the subject of the ancient mysteries was Manly P. Hall, another 33rd degree Mason whom I have quoted extensively before in this series. He has written in his book entitled What the Ancient Wisdom Expects of Its Disciples, quote, "In the remote past the gods walked with men, and they chose from among the sons of men the wisest and the truest. With these specially ordained and illumined sons they left the keys of their great wisdom, which was the knowledge of good and evil. These illumined ones founded what we know as the ancient mysteries," unquote. Now, in case you weren't listening there, this is a dead giveaway and an admission that the gods that walked with men were known, at least in the Bible, as Satan. For he says here, and I'm going to read this again for you folks, because I know some of you just didn't pick it up, because I know how the minds of the sheeple operate. And there's a lot of sheeple listening. There's also a lot of people listening who aren't sheeple, and they know that I'm not talking to them. If the word sheeple applied to you makes you angry, then folks, it is an indication that it fits you like a shoe, like a glove, that you are indeed one of the sheeple. Let me read it again. Quote, "With these specially ordained and illumined sons they left the keys of their great wisdom, which was the knowledge of good and evil." According to the Bible, the knowledge of good and evil was imparted to Adam when Satan enticed Eve to eat of the fruit of the tree of knowledge, and she in turn enticed Adam. And what was the fruit of the tree of knowledge? It was the knowledge of good and evil. It was forbidden for man to know that. Now, I'm not making judgment on any of this. I'm just telling you what my research says. Remember, this is not a religious program. And while I, myself, personally, have my own idea of what my own religion is, I am in no means trying to foist it off on anyone else. Let me continue. He wrote, and we're talking about Manly P. Hall, 33rd degree Freemason, he wrote additional comments about these mysteries in another of the books he has written called The Secret Teachings of All Ages. And I would urge you, if you can afford it, to buy that book. It's a very expensive book. I have a copy of it in my library. It cost me $150, and it was worth every single penny of it, I can assure you. Quote, "The arcana, defined as being a secret or hidden knowledge of the ancient mysteries, were never revealed to the profane, defined as those not initiated into the inner mysteries, except through the media of symbols." You're going to find, folks, that symbols mean more than you will ever begin to understand unless you've waded deep into the stream of the mystery Babylon, as I have. Quote, "Symbolism fulfilled the dual office of concealing the sacred truths from the uninitiated and revealing to those qualified to understand the symbols," unquote. Mr. Hall dedicated the latter book to, quote, "the proposition that concealed within the emblematic figures, allegories, and rituals of the ancients is a secret doctrine concerning the inner mysteries of life, which doctrine has been preserved in toto," which means in the whole, "among a small band of initiated minds since the very beginning of the world," unquote. He went on to mention that the mysteries, quote, "were secret societies, binding their initiates to inviolable secrecy and avenging with death the betrayal of their sacred trusts," unquote. And to this day they take blood oaths. Mr. Hall told the reader that no one is to know the identity of those who have received the secrets. In fact, he wrote, quote, "The true adept and initiate shall reveal his identity to no man unless that one is worthy to receive it," unquote. He further explained where some of these initiates lived when he wrote, quote, "No reasonable doubt can exist that the initiates of Greece, Egypt and other ancient countries possessed the correct solutions to those great cultural, intellectual, moral, and social problems which in an unsolved state confront the humanity of the 20th century, unquote. He further amplified that thought when he added this, quote, Neoplatonism, defined by Mr. Hall as a school founded by Plotinus around 240 A.D., concerning itself with the problems of metaphysics, which he calls the study of knowledge, recognizes the existence of a secret and all-important doctrine which from the time of the earliest civilizations had been concealed within the rituals, symbols, and allegories of religions and philosophies, unquote. So, in summary, it is possible, folks, to understand what these ancient mysteries were. And there appears to be at least 4 truths gleaned from the information provided in the comments made previously, and these truths appear to be: 1. The ancient mysteries had 2 forms of worshiping the same God. 2. The knowledge of the true God was reserved for those who had been entrusted with the secrets, and not for those whom they call the profane. 3. Those who understood those secrets were sworn to the strictest secrecy. And 4. Those who had knowledge of the secrets claimed to possess all of the answers to all of the problems of mankind. Now, there was an additional secret for the secret bearers. They had to be initiated in a private initiation ceremony. Albert Pike, General Albert Pike, a Southern Confederate general during the Civil War, wrote this, quote, Initiation was considered to be a mystical death, and the perfect epopt was then said to be regenerated, newborn, restored to a renovated existence of life, light, and purity, unquote. In fact, folks, this, quote, newborn, unquote, experience is similar to the experience the, quote, born-again, unquote, Christians go through. The Christians call their experience a second birth, just as the Masons do. In fact, Albert Pike calls a similar ceremony a, quote, born-again, unquote, experience, and he wrote this, quote, In the Indian mysteries, the 3rd degree, the initiate is said to be born again, unquote. The ceremony in the ancient mysteries has been described by the Masonic writer Manly P. Hall. Quote, In the ancient system of initiation, the truth seeker must pass through a second birth, and those who attained this exalted state were known thereafter as, quote, the twice born, unquote. This new birth must be personally earned through a complete regeneration of character and conduct, unquote. This new birth ceremony involves a symbolic death, according to the Mason Kenneth Mackenzie, and he wrote this, quote, In the ancient mysteries, the aspirant could not participate in the highest secrets until he had been placed in the coffin. In this, he was symbolically said to die, and his resurrection was to the light, unquote. Now remember, I told you about the initiation that George Bush underwent in the crypt, also known as the tomb, the skull and bones, the Brotherhood of Death at Yale University. This is what they're talking about. During a press conference, a reporter asked George Bush if he was a Christian, and he replied thusly, quote, If you're asking if I have been born again, the answer is yes, unquote. And indeed, he had. Modern-day Masons participate in an almost similar ceremony to the one described by these Masonic writers. In the 3rd degree, called the Master Mason degree, inside the Blue Lodge, the candidate is actually knocked off of his feet by several of the Masons in attendance. He is wrapped up in a blanket and moved to the western end of the temple. There, after further ceremony, he is raised up by a grip called the Master's grip, or the grip of the lion's paw. Those who learned the mysteries also learned that they had a secret project, one that was described by Albert Pike in his book entitled Morals and Dogma. Mr. Pike wrote this, quote, "Behold our object, the end, the result of the great speculations of antiquity, the ultimate annihilation of evil and